Kicked out of home at 17 with nothing, I built my life from scratch, and today I won. I never imagined my life could change so drastically in a single instant. Before that day, my routine seemed relatively calm and predictable. I was 17, attending public school, helping out around the house, and trying to balance family expectations with my own ambitions and dreams. Despite the love I thought I felt, there was always a clear difference between my brother Nathan and me. He was the perfect son, my parents' favorite, the athlete admired by all, and I, despite being dedicated and responsible, always seemed to be in his shadow. I believed my efforts and honesty would eventually be recognized, that one day my family would see my worth, but I was about to discover that this expectation was just a painful illusion. Until that moment, I considered myself resilient, but I had yet to face something that truly and irrevocably tested my emotional strength and resolve. The car accident, seemingly ordinary and the result of Nathan's carelessness, was the catalyst that would change my life. My decision to take the blame, out of fear, pressure, and the habit of always trying to protect my brother, triggered a series of events that would leave me alone, vulnerable, and in a battle of survival that would forever change my perception of family, trust, and self-affirmation. The day of the accident was, at first glance, just another ordinary day. Nathan was driving as usual without considering the consequences of his actions, and the accident happened because of his recklessness. Fearing my parents' reaction, the possibility of violence, or an emotional confrontation I couldn't handle, I accepted the blame. I left home as if carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, with only $12 and a bag of clothes that barely covered my basic needs. Every step out the door made me realize the cruelty of the situation. There was no one to support me, no one to protect me. The feeling of abandonment was immediate and intense, and the emotional pain was overwhelming. Walking the streets that afternoon felt like crossing unfamiliar, hostile, and indifferent territory, and I realized I needed to learn to survive completely independently without any family support. What had previously seemed like a simple teenage routine, studying, helping around the house, and dreaming about the future, turned into a battle of physical and emotional survival, where every decision, every step, had immediate and direct consequences for my life. The first few nights were filled with despair. Without a safe place to sleep, I wandered the city trying to find some temporary shelter. The loneliness was intense. Every noise in the streets felt like a risk, and every shadow a warning. I felt cold, hungry, and afraid, and the feeling of being completely invisible to the world grew with each passing minute. I tried on several occasions to ask for help, but quickly realized that trusting people was a dangerous necessity. Not everyone had good intentions. With each step, each night, I learned to analyze situations, deal with fear, and create improvised survival strategies. The emotional pain was constant, but I began to realize that inner strength could manifest even in extreme situations. I discovered that survival depended on the ability to remain calm, make quick decisions, and not be overcome by negative emotions. These were days of extreme challenge, in which each meal obtained, each temporary shelter gained, and each moment of safety were small victories that gave me the energy to carry on. During those first months, my life became an exhausting routine of work and study. I volunteered for cleaning tasks, carried bags, helped with small household chores, anything that would earn me some money. At the same time, I needed to keep studying, as I understood that my future depended on education and knowledge. Each night I managed to study, even tired and hungry, reinforced my determination not to let the life that had been taken from me define who I was. I learned to deal with difficult people, to control my emotions in risky situations, and to transform frustration into motivation. Little by little, I realized that each small achievement was a step toward independence, and that my life could be rebuilt, even with so few resources and so much abandonment. With each effort, the feeling that I was in control of my destiny grew. The learning from those initial months was more profound than I could have imagined. I understood that true strength comes not only physically, but also mentally and spiritually. Family abandonment, the injustice of being accused of something I didn't do, and the neglect of my parents and siblings taught me lessons that no one in school or books could offer. I discovered that resilience is built in moments of extreme vulnerability, and that it is possible to transform pain into motivation and hopelessness into a coping strategy. I learned to value every penny earned, every meal obtained, every temporary shelter, understanding that survival was the foundation on which I would build my future. It was during this period that I began to realize that my life would not need to be defined by family rejection, but by the effort, dedication, and courage to move forward, and that true emotional and financial independence would be concrete proof of my ability to transform adversity into strength. As time passed, I began to realize that simply surviving was no longer enough. I needed to achieve real independence, both financially and emotionally. My small job taught me discipline and responsibility, but it also showed me that I could do more than just support myself. I began studying more intensely, seeking knowledge that could lead me to create my own opportunities. Every book I read, every concept I learned, became a tool to transform my life. The days were long and exhausting. Between work, study, and small tasks, physical and emotional fatigue was constant, but I learned to transform this exhaustion into fuel. With each step, I felt myself moving away from the dependence on my family, which for years had made me feel invisible and worthless. I was building a solid foundation for my autonomy, and this realization began to transform my self-esteem. Each small achievement was proof that I could create my own path, without needing anyone's approval or support. The internal struggle was intense. Despite the progress, loneliness and a sense of abandonment remained. I often felt overwhelmed and questioned whether all the effort was worth it. There were days when the despair was almost paralyzing, when exhaustion and hunger made me doubt my ability to continue. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered the injustice I had suffered, my parents' abandonment, and Nathan's lie, and I felt an inner flame pushing me forward. I realized that the strength to continue would come from no one else but myself. It was a period of intense self-discovery, where I learned to identify my emotions, manage them, and use each difficulty as an impulse to grow and strengthen my mind. This internal struggle prepared me for even greater challenges, as I discovered that the greatest battle we face is often with ourselves. While solidifying my survival and study routine, I began to strategically plan my future. I studied finance, learned about entrepreneurship, business strategies, and management, often late into the night, even exhausted from work. Each piece of information I absorbed became a practical tool that would allow me to achieve full independence in the future. I began to envision my own business, something that could not only guarantee my financial security, but also give me pride and autonomy. The discipline acquired during these months of struggle taught me that small, consistent actions can generate profound long-term changes. I learned to set clear goals, draw up detailed plans, and adapt my strategies according to circumstances. Each step in this process reinforced my confidence in my own ability to turn dreams into reality. My progress began to generate recognition on a small scale. Coworkers and clients noticed my dedication, my responsibility, and my problem-solving ability. This was a new feeling, being valued not for who I was, family, but for what I could offer as an individual. Every compliment and every small achievement reinforced my self-esteem and my sense of purpose. For the first time, I felt my life was under my control, not dependent on external approval. This external validation, however small, was crucial in strengthening my sense of identity and reinforcing that I could, indeed, thrive even in the face of adversity and family rejection. Over time, I realized that every step I took, every victory I achieved, wasn't just about me, but also about proving that the injustice I suffered wouldn't define me. I was shaping my own narrative, creating a future that depended solely on my decisions and efforts. A sense of autonomy and control began to replace the insecurity and fear of the past. I began to envision the life I wanted to build, and this vision motivated me to continue facing challenges, obstacles, and adversity. I understood that my strength lay not only in surviving, but in building, learning, growing, and transforming pain into opportunity, laying a solid foundation for future success. With the knowledge and experience I had built, I decided to take the next step, creating my own business. The idea came from observing simple opportunities that no one else saw, combined with skills I had developed over months of work and study. I started with limited resources, and every penny I saved was invested in this goal. The feeling of working towards something that would be entirely my own brought renewed energy. Despite the fear of failure, I realized there was no turning back. I had to try, and there was no one else who could define my destiny. Every financial challenge, every mistake, and every learning experience became valuable lessons. I discovered that financial independence wasn't just about money, but about freedom of decision, control over my own life, and personal validation. Every step I took in the business was a reflection of the strength I had cultivated during the most difficult moments of my life. The process of starting my own business wasn't easy. I faced logistical difficulties, a lack of resources, rejection from partners and clients, and the constant reminder that my family would never believe in my potential. Each obstacle tested my patience, resilience, and creativity. There were times when I felt like giving up, throwing everything away, and settling for a life that, for years, had seemed impossible to escape. But the memory of abandonment, injustice, and humiliation inflicted by Nathan and my parents became the motivation to continue. Each challenge overcome, each contract closed, and each satisfied client reinforced the fact that my effort was worthwhile. I began to realize that my story of overcoming adversity wasn't just mine, but could inspire others to face their own difficulties with courage and persistence. As the business grew, so did my emotional confidence. I realized I no longer depended on family approval to validate my achievements. Nathan, who had always considered himself perfect, began to show irritation and insecurity at my success, but this no longer affected me. I had built my own identity, independent of others' opinions. Each victory, each business expansion, was tangible proof that my strength and determination could overcome any obstacle, including rejection from those who should have supported me. This emotional autonomy became the foundation that would sustain my future life, allowing me to make decisions with clarity, courage, and complete confidence. Confronting the past became inevitable. My family, realizing my stability and success, began trying to reconnect, offering apologies and trying to smooth over past mistakes. I was prepared to listen, but not to give in to manipulation. Every word I spoke at that moment was grounded in truth and firmness. I explained my journey, every sacrifice, every night of suffering, and showed them that my life didn't need their approval to be full and meaningful. It was a liberating moment in which I realized that true victory lay not in humiliation or punishment, but in establishing clear boundaries and maintaining my dignity. The presence of Alyssa, Nathan's wife, added an unexpected and powerful element to the situation. She witnessed my truth and decided to support me, breaking the cycle of manipulation that had marked our family. Her courage was inspiring and solidified my sense of justice. For the first time, I felt I was not alone in the face of injustice, and that the truth carried more weight than lies or false privilege. This external support reinforced my conviction that my story, marked by abandonment and struggle, now had recognition and relevance, solidifying my transformation from victim to strong, independent, and respected woman. With my independence achieved and my business established, the time came to face my family with clarity and firmness. I wasn't seeking revenge, but recognition and respect. Nathan still considered himself the perfect son. My father remained distant, and my mother remained passive, trying to justify years of neglect. However, I was prepared, for my journey thus far had taught me discipline, patience, and emotional control. Every word, every gesture, was designed to express my truth and show that my path to overcoming obstacles didn't depend on others' approval. The fear that had previously paralyzed me was now replaced by determination and confidence. Confronting those who rejected me was a fundamental step toward freeing myself emotionally and asserting my identity. During the confrontation, I was direct and firm. I explained in detail my daily struggle, the challenges I faced on the streets, the building of my business, and the independence I achieved on my own. Nathan tried to discredit my achievements, but his attempt was ineffective. My emotional security and sense of worth were intact. For the first time, I felt my effort, courage, and resilience were recognized, even if not everyone understood. Every word that came out of my mouth reinforced my power to decide my own destiny. The silence of some family members was as eloquent as the words, as it made it clear they could no longer control me emotionally. Alyssa's presence was crucial. She bore witness to the truth and made important decisions to protect her son and break Nathan's cycle of manipulation. Her courage strengthened me and reinforced that the truth, sooner or later, prevails. I realized that my journey of overcoming wasn't just my own, but also served as an example of resilience, justice, and courage for others facing family injustices. This unexpected alliance strengthened my sense of justice and reparation, solidifying my emotional victory. After that moment, my relationship with my extended family began to change. Some uncles and cousins who had previously believed Nathan's lies began to recognize my achievements and reflect on their own actions. While not everyone reconciled completely, respect began to emerge. Seeing people who had previously ignored me recognize my strength and determination was deeply moving. This partial validation brought peace and reinforced my conviction that truth and justice always find their way, even if late. The culmination of my journey was the recognition and legacy left by my grandmother, who always believed in me. She ensured that my journey was valued and rewarded, symbolizing justice and emotional reparation. Receiving this inheritance was deeply meaningful, as it represented more than material possessions. It validated all my struggle, suffering, and resilience. For the first time, I felt that my life was truly balanced, that my achievements were recognized, and that my inner strength had become a tangible legacy of resilience, autonomy, and dignity. Today, looking back, I realize that every challenge and suffering were fundamental in shaping who I am. The pain of abandonment, the weight of injustice, and nights of insecurity taught me to appreciate every small achievement. I understood that true strength lies not in the absence of difficulties, but in the ability to face them and transform them into motivation to grow. Every tear and every moment of fear served as fuel for my determination. My life, once defined by rejection and family neglect, is now marked by autonomy, purpose, and pride. I learned that we don't need everyone's approval to validate our existence. What truly matters is recognizing our own worth and fighting for it courageously. Material achievements, like my own business and the house I bought, are merely reflections of what I've built internally. More important than possessions or external recognition is the emotional transformation I've experienced. I've learned to set clear boundaries, prioritize my integrity, and choose relationships that truly matter. My self-esteem and confidence no longer depend on the opinion of Nathan, my parents, or any other family member who rejected me. With this consolidated emotional independence, I can face future challenges with clarity, determination, and serenity. The feeling of control over my own life is liberating and allows me to make decisions based on what's right for me, not on what others expect. My journey has also taught me the value of empathy and mutual support. Alyssa's presence, which broke the cycle of manipulation, showed me that even in situations of extreme adversity, sincere support can transform lives. The experience motivated me to be a source of strength and inspiration for others, facing rejection, injustice, or abandonment. I understood that my story is not only about personal resilience, but also about the possibility of inspiring courage and resilience in others. Each obstacle I overcame made me more aware of the impact my journey can have on the world around me. The symbolic justice my grandmother provided solidified my emotional victory. Receiving the inheritance and the house represented not only material comfort, but also validation of all the effort, resilience, and struggle I'd maintained over the years. It was concrete proof that, even in the face of injustice and abandonment, it's possible to build a full life, earn respect, and establish a legacy of one's own. This achievement brought emotional closure that previously seemed impossible, allowing me to look to the future with hope and confidence. The past, though painful, has become a valuable memory that strengthens my identity and guides me in future decisions. Today, I am Clara, an independent, resilient woman, aware of her own worth. I survived, grew, thrived, and maintained my dignity intact. My story is a testament to the fact that pain and adversity don't determine our destiny, but how we respond to them does. Each step of the journey, however difficult, has shaped the woman I am today. I know there will still be challenges, but I am prepared to face them with courage, confidence, and determination. My past no longer defines me. It strengthens me. This is my story of overcoming, and I hope it inspires others to believe that, even in the darkest moments, it is possible to transform pain into victory, rebuild your life, and achieve true emotional and material freedom.